Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here. It's been a little bit since the March of the Lich King dropped. We've had time to play with the new cards, especially with all of the new legendaries, and we're going to break down kind of which ones are safe for you to craft, which ones are not so safe, and maybe a little description to go on with each, just to give you an idea of what that legendary will grant you. First being the Death Knight legendaries. Blightfang is found in, of course, the Unholy Death Knight, and it's honestly not, it's good in that deck, but that deck is like the worst of the Death Knight decks. They recently did buff this card to a 3/4 instead of a 3/3. I haven't seen a single player play this against me. It is run in my Unholy Death Knight deck. It is a pretty decent card, but by no means a powerful one that you need to go out of your way to craft. Mograine, this goes into the Triple Blood Death Knight, really popular deck on ladder right now, very, very fun deck, and this is a staple in that deck because it provides basically damage at the end of each and every turn. It combos well with Bran. It's a decent sized body. It is, however, very slow and is going to be useless in a lot of matchups like aggro decks, or if you're placing against like a combo deck and you haven't done that much damage. But in general, in the control matchup, which is occurring more and more as the expansion continues to push on, it's been a really good card. So if you're interested in Blood DK, this is a really good card for that deck. But remember, you can discover that card through all of the other discover effects in the Blood Death Knight. So you don't necessarily have to play this guy to find this guy, but he is very good in that one deck. I have not seen a single person play Outcast Demon Hunter, nor has Outcast Demon Hunter been a deck that I would want to play because there's just not enough Outcast cards at the moment. This might see some support in the future. I'm expecting the mini set to have quite a bit of Outcasts for Demon Hunters, but at the moment, this is absolutely not a craft. The Soul Eater Scythe was like the first iteration of Demon Hunters when the expansion first released. They ran the 3 minions, whether it's like Artificer, Zelang, and the new Spell Power minion that combos with the Unleash spell. Very fun deck, the no minion Demon Hunter, but the Quest Demon Hunter took the top spot shortly after people were playing the Bind Soul or Soul Eater Scythe Demon Hunter. So while this is a fun deck, by no means do you need to play this in your deck to have a good Demon Hunter deck. You can just run the normal Relic Demon Hunter and it'll do just fine. You can run the Quest Demon Hunter. It's probably still pretty good. But if you really enjoy Demon Hunter and you want to run the no minion package, this is not a bad choice. The deck is very good. But again, you don't have to do that, you know what I mean, to have like a good Demon Hunter deck. Moving to Elder Nitrox, you actually have to destroy a friendly undead. It can't just be any minion, and this is completely unneeded in Druid because it's just too slow, and killing your own minions to buff other minions is unnecessary when you just have cards that buff your minions with no downside, and they don't cost 5 mana. So this card, at the moment, absolutely trash. I tried it so hard, and the card sucks. A nub. Yeah, so this card is just nuts. They recently did change this card to make it say your next 3 minions, and just instead of just minions, period. This didn't really fix the issue with the nub, with the brand, with the Astalar combo. You can still OTK people down from full health to 0 health in like turn 6 or 7 if you draw the brand, a nub, and Astalar. A nub, absolute staple in any Druid deck. You'd be silly not to play this in your Druid deck. It's too good, even with the recent nerf. The card's just an absolute staple in Druid. Very, very good. I haven't seen a single person play this card. It's bad at the moment. Arcane Hunter did not. It's just not good enough. Shock Splitter Hunter has been the hunter to come on top. It was really good when it came out. It got nerfed. Nobody played it. And now with the recent changes again, Shock Splitter Hunter is probably one of the best decks in the game. And even then, this card still sees no play. And then Hope, this card's way too slow. Paying 6 mana for a 4/2 weapon to buff your minions. While it does sound like it's a really good card, this card is atrocious, and it's really, really bad. Hunter Legendary's got the short end of the stick this time around. Vex. So this is very interesting in Arcane Mage. The aggro Arcane Mage or Quest Mage is actually making a rise. Card seeing more and more play. Does a lot of damage with the Arcane Bolts. Really fun card. But again, Mage isn't a super powerful class right now. It does have a couple up and coming decks. I actually have a few videos on this card and the decks that he does fit into coming very soon. But if you do enjoy Mage, he's really, really good in Mage, but by no means is he played in like Big Mage or any of the older renditions of Mage. He's only found in like the new Tempo Arcane Mage, and then, like I said, sometimes the Quest Mage. Grand Magister, which apparently I have 3 copies of this card. We played this in a Mage deck that we posted a couple days ago. Super fun, very wacky. Obviously not very competitive because he's just recasting spells that you didn't start in your deck. So depending on whether or not you generated good cards or not is dependent on whether or not this guy is good. Plus he costs 9 mana. There's a lot of people running Patchwork and Theo and Hand Disruption. Most of the time, this card dies in your hand, or you just don't draw him by the time the game is over. So at the moment, this card is way too slow. If they ever do change this guy to like 8 mana or 7 mana or something like that, he can be quite nuts. He was very good. He's just very slow, and the deck he fits into really isn't that great. Hello, little duders. Would you like to remind the people on YouTube that they need to like and comment so you can make sure you get Christmas dog toys? Yeah? Are you being crazy today, bud? Are you being a crazy boy? So taking a look at Paladin, they got the Blood, Matriarch, very good card, very good card. This fits well, in my opinion, into any sort of Paladin deck. It's a card that needs to be dealt with, or all of the other cards that you play, as long as they have less attack, are going to have Divine Shield and Rush. There's a lot of cards to buff this card, which makes it so it's easier to give your other cards that Divine Shield, and it's the Rush also comes in handy because you're able to trade into stuff and it survive, and her Diamond Portrait is actually just insanely cool. So good card for Paladin. If you enjoy pure Paladin, almost pretty much any Paladin, really, she's just so very solid in it. The new Paladin Dragon. So this guy is actually super sick. He's a 7 mana 8/8. Stats are really good, and his ability is send all other minions 2 turns ahead in the future. So they basically disappear and then they come back in 2 turns. This is a fantastic board clear if you don't want to deal with stuff. It gets around death rattles. It gets around taunts. I've never played this card and it feel bad unless the game ends. You know what I mean? Sometime in there, because you don't find the board clear for when the minions do come back. But you do have even an extra turn because they pop up on your turn and your opponent, has to go back to them. So you have quite a bit of time to be able to deal with what this guy sends into the future, if not just straight up win the game. Also, with it being a dragon package, you can discover more of this card, and that's really cool too. So Paladin's got some pretty good stuff this time around in regards to Legendary. High Cultist, I have not seen this card played a single time, besides in the Theory Crafting stream where it was like the Reborn Undead crazy deck, and it, like, you know what I mean, you have to have a board, then this has to be in your hand, you have to play it, and even I guess if he resurrects a couple cards, it's good, but for the most part this is not the card at the moment for Priest at all. And then we have Sister. This is found in basically every control priest deck or combo priest deck. This is infinite value because she gives you a Vision of Darkness, but keep in mind it's insanely slow. The combo with this is with like Radiant Elementals, and you can do some pretty obscene, obscure things with that. Like have basically infinite mana turns. The only thing against you is the rope and your turn timer, which we actually posted a deck on this as well in the past. If you want to check that out, it's like the most annoying priest deck because double Radiant Elemental or even triple, and then you just create more cards that summon more Radiant Elementals, and then the Vision of Darkness is free, and then you just make infinite shadow spells, and it's pretty gross. So Sister, while she's very good, she's very slow, but this is the most priest card I've ever seen. It's literally infinite value. Shadow of Demise, absolutely a staple in Rogue. Fits into every Rogue deck. Why wouldn't it? Each time you cast a spell, transform a copy of it. You do very wacky things with this. So yeah, Shadow of Demise, absolutely a Rogue staple. Absolutely a great card. Professor Putricide, again, pretty much found in every sort of rogue that you're going to play right now, just because the concoctions are super powerful. There's a lot of concoction synergy, and rogue is definitely a top deck right now, even after the nerf Thief Concoction Rogue, and there's even renditions of Miracle Rogue that are being played, even with the nerfs, and the deck is still doing really, really good at top legend. So Potion Matcher Putricide, very, very good as well. Again, Shaman, Rotgill, Murloc Shaman, lol. He is a very powerful card. He's a very good card. He's a very annoying card, but by no means is he an absolute staple in kind of any deck that I've ever seen. Even in the Evolved Shaman deck, people are saying that we should take out the Sea Giants and put in Rod, Gil, and Queen. When you're running an Evolved deck, you don't really want to give stuff Death Rattles because you're evolving them anyway. That's basically the biggest thing there. So by no means do you need Rock Gil, and he's that crazy. Overlord Draku kind of falls under the same spot. Most times I've seen this, he was randomly created. He was never actually played. They did print a lot of Big Shaman support. So this card is, good in Big Shaman, but is Big Shaman good? And the answer to that question is no, it's not very good. It's just too slow right now. It doesn't have enough payoff, and a couple board clears pretty much cleans up the entire deck. But keep in mind, this is a very fun and very cool card. I like big decks. Devourer of Souls is now one of the key cards in the Mine Warlock. For those of you who know that deck, the OTK deck, you can do a massive amount of damage with that deck. And this is one of the key parts to it because you can get the Mine Death Rattle to go on this guy, and then they keep proccing off, and then this goes, it's like hundreds of damage, this guy. But That deck did exist before. It still did hundreds of damage. And depending on what the meta looks like is depending on if Mind Warlock is good or not, because it's a combo deck. And if you're able to play like Viper, destroy the weapon to stop the discounts, it greatly hinders the deck. Also, any hand disruption, if you take their phylactery, it basically the deck just can't win. So Devourer of Souls is going to be dependent on the meta, but it is a key card in that Mind Rogue. Dark Hand, she is like in an undead, like discard weird warlock deck. By no means you need this card. Cool card, but you don't need it. Looking at Warrior, Warrior was in the worst spot this expansion. Why the Grand Shield is a cool card and a good card. I have yet to see a single player play this. I can't even build a deck that would make sense that you'd like. Warrior's just terrible. It has no win condition. Even if it does, it's the same win condition it's had for a long time now, which is nothing. It doesn't have one. So this card, while it'd be good, it's not played in any deck. And then we have this thing. It's terrible too because Warrior doesn't need like the fire cards they printed. They're anti, most of them, they just don't flow as well as they should together, and it just doesn't make the deck good. You can play this, but by no means would you ever want to craft this or this at this particular time. Taking a look at the neutrals, though, we have the most powerful card in the game and currently played in the most decks of any other card right now. That's Astalar. This is an instant craft if you don't have this guy. Like I said, he fits into every deck that you can play. No matter what deck you're playing, you can put this card in there, and it's a good card. And the reason being is not only his ability is very good, but he helps you curve out. So on a turn 2, you have a turn 2 play. On turn 5, you have a turn 5 play. On turn 8 to 10, you have a turn 8 to 10 play, plus his ability of like dealing 2 damage, mana thirst 4, gaining that 5 armor, which doesn't sound like a lot, but is actually pretty good. And then the big one, as we know, the 8 mana one, which is mana thirst 10, and he can deal 16 damage. If you haven't seen this card, I don't know if you've been playing Hearthstone or not, but yeah, this is absolutely the best card to come out of this set for sure, because just the pure fact that it's a neutral, can be played in any deck, helps you curve out, does damage, and all around just a fan. It's like if Ziliax and Dr. Boom did a fusion dance, took some steroids, and then ate like 18 senzu beans, and then injected them through like an IV line. You have Astalar. So very good card. Bone Lord, a lot of people were saying this is going to be like the most broken combo activator card that has ever existed. This card has seen 0 play and actually belongs in 0 decks at the moment. Maybe in the future this will be a card that sees play, but the problem is it's Death Rattle. It's not a battle cry. Which means this card needs to die in order for the effect to take place, which means there's things that you can do, like transforming it, freezing it. There's a lot of things you can do to just disrupt this card from doing whatever the person wants it to do. Mostly the best thing that you can do is give your opponent this card and make them die in 3 turns. That's kind of a really good play. Looking at Lormar, this guy's effect is exceedingly powerful. It's very, very fun, but by no means competitive. Doubling the stats of all minions in your deck. You can do some crazy stuff with Big Demon Hunter. We actually posted a video on that not too long ago. Having 16 Inquisitors is that's a big boy. But again, very slow, easy to disrupt, and not consistent, but very fun, very cool card. Hopefully that guy might see some play in the future or something. Invincible. This is actually a really good neutral card. A lot of things are undead right now, and this card, it gives it +5/+5, and it gives it taunt, and then this has reborn, and it does it again. So the fact that this can give basically 15/15 in stats with taunt, and then it's a 5/5 himself, and it comes back, is pretty nutty. So if you're running undead decks, this is not a bad card to put in there, but by no means do you need Invincible. But don't get me wrong, it is a really good card. And then we have the Sunwell, which is played in some Thief Rogues, some Mages are playing it, some Shamans are playing it. It really just depends on your deck. But for the most part, this has been more of a meme card, just because you want to put good cards in your deck, and then you want to draw good cards so you can win the game, right? But when you're putting Sunwell in the deck, you have to spend the mana to get the Sunwell, and then what you get, you may not be good, and then it also fills up your hand, so you cannot, it's sometimes really difficult to do the hand manipulation or knowing when to play Sunwell. But if your hand is empty and you happen to discover the Sunwell, well, it works out, right? So Sunwell is a kind of a hit or miss card. I think when Naga Priest got hit, the Sunwell went down a lot because that deck would spend its whole hand and then really have nothing. So it made sense to play that in this deck or that deck. And then, of course, like Thief Rogue, it makes sense, right? But for the most part, most normal decks would not run Sunwell. But it doesn't mean it's not a very powerful and good card as well. And everybody actually should have got this for free by logging in, period. So you shouldn't actually have to ever craft this card. And that is going to cover all of the legendaries that came out for March of the Lich King. Hopefully this helps you on your crafting journey to figure out what you need, which cards fit into which decks. And with that, guys, enjoy. I'll see you in the next video, of course. I'm Robert Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.